In terms of how reform would actually tackle that, and I've had a bit of a look at your manifesto, or at least what you've got on your website, and the sort of key bullet points are lower taxes, secure borders, cheaper energy, zero waiting lists, obviously meaning the NHS. But there was some criticism when you released something in January where Steve Edgington tweeted that Reform UK launched a 2023 plan this morning. Immigration was featured on the third slide and was the 16th bullet point. And I had a look at your manifesto and it was still sort of down at page 20. And I'm just wondering, is this an attempt to kind of appeal to sort of, lefties, centrists? Are you kind of sort of not foregrounding the social conservatism and trying to sort of say, hey, we're just the competence party?
Look, there are multiple challenges facing the country. Immigration is a really significant one because it impacts life in many, many ways. And I'll be making a very significant announcement this Saturday at our spring rally, our biggest ever event. We've got some 800 people coming on both lawful and illegal immigration. And look, it's incredibly important. And I think people will like what we have to say. I'm sort of keeping my powder dry. So those who are listening, listen up to what we've got to say this Saturday at our spring rally. It's very significant. But there are, over and above immigration, which, as I say, impacts on many, many things, both lawful and the appalling illegal immigration. And we're the only party with a clear, bold plan that would stop the boats. We've got to face into the other issues. How do you get the economy growing again? How do people keep more money? How do they pay the bills? How do we get energy down? And so on and so on. But on, as I say, watch this space on lawful immigration. But our policy on stopping the boats is a clear 6-point plan which would stop the boats. I know it works because it's what Australia did. I've literally copied almost word for word what they did with a couple of exceptions. And that's it. The first point is you've got to declare a national security threat, which you're entitled to do under the UN 51 Convention, Article 9. Only this week we've heard about ISIS terrorists amongst the hundreds of criminals that have been coming over. I'm the bloke who broke the story about the Albanians last August. So I'm doing a lot of that. That's the first thing. The second thing we've got to do is leave the European Convention on Human Rights. You've got to make sure clear that nobody who comes here illegally will resettle here, absolutely zero. You've got to set up offshore processing centres and do it properly. That's the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is, look, the Home Office is broken. It's not fit for purpose. You've got to set up a whole new Department of Immigration, staffed by people who believe in the cause of secure borders, knowing who's coming in, knowing who's going out. Not rocket science, but that's what's got to happen. And then the sixth and final thing, which we're entitled to do under existing international legislation, is you've got to pick people up out of the dinghies safely and take them back to France. And the moment you do that, you stop the whole business model. It's game over. Literally game over. That's our version of what the Australians did, which was the pushback policy. And it worked for them. It would work for us. We're entitled to do it under existing law. The French might be a bit grumpy, and they can take it to the international courts. That might take a year. The problem would have been sorted within a fortnight because there's no business model. You're not going to pay $5,000 to be picked up in a dinghy and taken back to the French shores. Literally game over, and we're entitled to do it. So we've got a bold, clear plan, and on illegal immigration, and then, as I say, we'll be making a very significant statement this weekend on lawful immigration.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, some former military people have said to me, just put them back in France. But I think you're the first politician I've heard just go for the sort of drop them back in France approach. So yeah,
I've read all the international treaties that are relevant to this. I've got the clauses. Now, if I can do it, why can't Suella Braverman and a competent lawyer do it? Why can't Priti Patel and a competent lawyer do it? The reason is because the Tory politicians, they seem to believe the nonsense that they're told by their senior civil servants. That's not good enough. If you've got conviction, if you've got courage, if you've got leadership, then you find good people, you work with them, and you get the job done. The British people want this stopped, and they want it stopped now.